A lot of dysregulation is also linked to anxiety and a loss of control. Throughout the school day, young people are constantly being told where to go, what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. For some young people, particularly those who experience increased anxiety or difficulties with flexibility, this can feel very overwhelming. When people feel out of control, our stress levels increase and it makes it harder for us to think clearly, communicate effectively, and regulate our emotions. And this is the stress response that Sarah touched on earlier. By approaching young people collaboratively and providing opportunities for choice, we can reduce their sense of helplessness and help restore their feeling of control, therefore reducing their stress response. This does not mean removing boundaries or stripping back our expectations. Instead, it means working alongside the young person so that they feel supported enough to re-engage and be successful. One of the most powerful tools that we can use is controlled choice. The reason choice is so important is that it helps address the feeling of having no control. For example, if a young person is struggling to transition inside from lunch break, I might offer them the choice of 3 more minutes or 5 more minutes outside. If a young person is unable to begin a task, I might ask whether they would like to start with just the front or the back of the worksheet. If they're struggling to pick where they want to do their work, I might offer them the choice of sitting at a desk or sitting on the floor with a lap tray. The important thing to remember with controlled choice is that we're still maintaining our boundaries and our expectations. We have chosen the options, but the young person gets to make the decision. This allows them to experience autonomy and control while still moving towards meeting the expectation that staff have put in place. For a young person who is very dysregulated, possibly operating in fight, flight, or shutdown, support looks a little bit different. My first question is still usually, how can I help? And then the response I receive will guide my next move. Because we're all here today to talk about behavior as communication, let's assume that the young person we're supporting isn't ready or able to respond to us verbally in the situation. In that situation, I don't keep asking more questions. Instead, I try and reduce my verbal input and give them as much space as is possible. This might look like standing further away than I normally would and simply remaining available with an open body position. This reduces the impact of my presence and it lowers the number of demands being placed upon them. When someone is highly dysregulated, every question or instruction adds to their already full cognitive load. If there isn't a safety concern, sometimes the most supportive thing that we can do is step back, reduce our language, and allow the young person the opportunity to regulate independently or to co-regulate with us on their own terms. If we do have concerns about safety, the core principles of this remain the same. We would like to use as few words as possible, give them as much space as possible, and support them in the way that best provides safety for them and everyone in the room. And although we've spoken and spent a lot of time about what to do in the moment, the reality is that the best behavior support is done proactively. The more we can set our young people up for success, the less often they'll feel the need to communicate through their behavior. One of the most effective ways to do this is by increasing predictability. Many young people, particularly those with neurodiverse needs, experience anxiety when they aren't able to predict what's going to happen next. At the Sycamore School, we support predictability through strategies such as daily routines that we display on whiteboards, individual schedules on the desks of those that need additional support, and playground schedules such as rosters or equipment waiting rooms. These supports reduce uncertainty and they help young people know exactly what's next throughout the day. We also focus on increasing clarity. We can't assume that young people automatically know what's expected of them. Increasing clarity means providing explicit instructions, breaking tasks down into manageable steps, and clearly defining behavioral expectations. For example, rather than simply saying listen, we might explain exactly what listening looks like in that classroom. It might mean pausing what you're doing and looking at the board, or it might mean continuing with a quiet task while also looking at the board. Increasing clarity reduces cognitive load and helps young people feel more confident about being able to do what is asked of them. We also emphasize providing regular access to regulation opportunities. Regulation shouldn't be something that we only think about once the young person is already overwhelmed or dysregulated. We can build regulation opportunities into the day through structured movement breaks, low demand activities, and visual supports that help young people identify and communicate how they're feeling before a challenge arises.